Travis Wayne Goodsell. I thought I would attempt to do a piece together video about the LDS Church's succession crisis. Having been born and raised in the church kept it hidden from me. All I knew was that Brigham Young succeeded Joseph Smith. That's all they said, that's all they let me know about, and then the pioneer trek to Salt Lake City. That's it, that's all. That's not it, that was not all. There's a big scandal, and it's been called the succession crisis. And so, because I have a unique historical perspective on it, other than the other church historians and the excommunicated church historians, the September 6th, there's more to the story than even they understood and knew of. So I'm going to go attempt this today. I did it originally on my blog before the church invested in a company that bought out my website the day after I filed my lawsuit with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I got shut down on my website. I'm sure it's just a coincidence and timing. I'm sure the church is innocent and I'm the bad guy. No, it's not. They purposely did it, just as they purposely sent me a death threat on Friday the 13th of March. So anyway, we start with what the actual process for succession is supposed to be. And for that, I will refer you to section 116 of the Doctrine and Covenants. And it's just one verse. Spring Hill is named by the Lord Adam-on-Diamond, because, said he, it is the place where Adam shall come to visit his people, or the Ancient of Days shall sit, as spoken of by Daniel the prophet. Mormons have this traditional understanding that we were going to go back to Missouri, except for Utah Mormons. Utah Mormons think this is now it. This is Zion. This is where Adam-on-Diamond is to occur. That Jesus is coming to Utah, and that with the $100 billion in tithing scandal that was exposed, the church has revealed that they're purposely saving the money according to the parable of the talents, in which parable the servants invest, get more from their investment, and give it to the Lord at his second coming. That's why the church has trillions of dollars, because they're going to give it to Jesus at his second coming. That's the church's answer. That's the first presidency statement. No joke. I think I can put it in here. Let's see if I can do a picture screen, and we'll start that with the first picture, so that you know that this isn't hyperbole. This is what they actually said. I should have minimized Nelson's head that I have and placed it on top of the stick figure giving Jesus the money at the second coming. So embarrassing. Thank God for coronavirus to save the church from further humiliation, and now everybody's going to forget about it, right? You've all forgotten about the tithing scandal. Okay, let's see, where was I? I think we're at Adam on Diamond, weren't we? So yeah, we all understand about Adam on Diamond in the church through the myths and legends and traditions that have been passed on down. But Adam on Diamond in Missouri, which, by the way, the total solar eclipse on the 21st of August 2017 passed right over it along with Independence. Isn't that interesting? I'm not talking about that in this video again. So, sorry. Well, maybe I can. We'll see. So, Adam on Diamond, the big priesthood meeting that Mormons understand it as. In this meeting, all Melchizedek, and they even throw in Aaronic, are going to leave their wives and daughters and sisters and attend this meeting. Now, because it hasn't happened yet, because so much time keeps going on, Mormons have embellished the story as a particular Mormon, I can't remember his name, I got his book because I finally found out who was the cause of this tradition. Because none of the prophets, nothing in scripture, and I found this one person who became a 70 is responsible for the added nonsense. It is that it will be a special calling to certain elect Mormons to go to Adam on Diamond to attend this meeting. It was a member of the 70 who pulled it out of his ass in a book he published with no reference. And apparently that book got widespread coverage as Mormons have talked about that scenario. So sorry, I'm not searching through my pile. The Mormon stuff got pushed to the back of the wall in the corner there. Games are blocking it, but you can sort of see that's Trump Tower. It had to become twin towers of Trump because of so many books that have been written about him as a scandal. But yeah, back in the corner, hidden away, are all the Mormon stuff. So, at this meeting, the Melchizedek, the priesthood, depending on who you talk to, are at this meeting, and some say we're just going to be sitting on the grass. Others say a building will be built there, like a massive conference center, stake building. I had a dream on my mission when I first got out to Massapequa Park, New York, my first area. And in that dream, I was in Adam on Diamond, as I was, as you face the pulpit, all the benches face the pulpit. I was on the left side, up against the wall, in the middle section. The overflow was also opened up, if you're familiar with church chapels and stake centers, and into the cultural hall, packed. Just a sea of black suits and white men. So, yes, days of racism. And the conductor who I don't know if he was presiding or conducting or both, got up at the podium and said, was introducing things, we welcome you, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden he stopped and began to say, I now present to you Jesus Christ. The audience just was, and I was like, huh? What? Where? What? Where? And sure enough, right behind me at the doors open up, some people come through like guards or something, and then Jesus. And he's in a robe, not in the black suits that we were all in, and comes walking down the aisle, and as he gets to my aisle, he turns over to look at me. And he's looking at me face to face. And he then telepathically says, you just barely made it. And I wake up shocked, and I'm lying there in bed going, just barely made it? So am I a bad guy? Did I almost blow it somewhere in my life? What did I almost blow it with? So thanks to the church, Mormons have these unique dreams. And so Mormons, as a result, all have their different understanding and speculation about how this event will take place in the future, most likely in our grandchildren's generation. Each generation keeps pushing it back. It's not going to happen in mine. It'll be a few grandkids, maybe. Great-grandkids. And so this event is where it's understood that the resurrected righteous prophets of old are going to attend as well. The patriarchs from Adam all the way down to Moses, Elijah, Elias, John, Peter, all going to be there. And they're all going to give up their keys to Jesus. And I always wondered about that. And I've since found out that that's wrong. You don't give your keys to Jesus. But we'll get to what is supposed to happen here. And then Jesus now has authority, as if he didn't before. And so then he goes to Jerusalem on the Mount of Olives, causes an earthquake, which destroys the wicked who are almost destroying the Jews, but yet doesn't affect the Jews. And then the Jews go through the mountain, and on the other side, Jesus says the Christus is there, and he's got the wounds in his hands and his feet, and the Jews say, what are those wounds? As if that's the first thing on their mind. And he says, this is the wounds that I was given in the house of my friends, from Scripture. And we need South Park to do an episode of this. And and so, yeah, then the end of the world happens, everybody's burned, the righteous are lifted up into heaven, into a spaceship. Nobody says spaceship, they just say, oh, we go up into heaven. They don't think about how do we breathe and all that stuff. They just say, oh, the Spirit protects us. And, yeah. And so that's a brief and maybe a little bit of comical sarcasm, satire mixed in with it, but that's generally the Mormon concept of the initiation of the second coming, is that Jesus is coming to them first to Adam-on-Diamond for the big priesthood meeting. This is how it was supposed to be. Oh, man. Starting in verse 21 of section 107. Of necessity, there are presidents or presiding officers growing out of or appointed of or from among those who are ordained to the several offices in the two priesthoods. And so, Aaronic, Melchizedek, they have offices within each of the two priesthood bodies. So Aaronic in the church, deacon, teacher, priest. In the Melchizedek for the church, elder used to be 70, and high priest. Well, Nelson's taken away the high priests, and 70s have long been gone. We do have them in the Big B Brethren administration, but not at the local levels. So there's technically only Elders Quorum office in the Melchizedek priesthood now, unless you're a leader, which is bishop, stake president, high council, and the Big B Brethren offices. So there's only elders. That's it. You become a high priest if you become a leader, but there's no leader's office. There's no high priest office, sorry. There's no high priest office anymore. Nelson dismantled it, did away with it, moved all the high priests into the Elders Quorum. And then the bishops and stake presidents are supposed to determine if it's supposed to be split into multiple Elders Quorums due to the number requirements provided in Doctrine and Covenants. 96 elders. If you go over that, you're supposed to split it into two. And that helps determine if another ward is necessary to be established. And so this is the system, is that you have leadership that come out of each of these offices. And then we get to the Melchizedek priesthood with the presiding high priests. Verse 22. Of the Melchizedek priesthood, 3 presiding high priests. That's the leadership of the church. They make sure to even capitalize it for you so that you can't be confused of calling it a stake president. But that stake president is modeled after the first presidency. And so this is the leadership of the church. And this is about succession. Because Joseph Smith is already the president of the church. Why would he talk about this if not for a future succession to replace him when he's dead? And so this is how it's supposed to be done. And all Mormons don't follow that because of the succession crisis. Dun, 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 dun. So, of the Melchizedek priesthood, 3 presiding high priests chosen. Mormons don't do this. The Melchizedek priesthood doesn't do this. I've never done it ever since I became an elder in the Melchizedek priesthood, right before I went to Rick's. Nope. We've had succession after succession after succession for the presiding high priesthood of the church, and I never cast my choice. That's the vote. Remember in Mormons? when you go to General Conference or when you're watching it on TV here in Utah, you raise your right hand to cast your sustaining vote. And there are a few of you who I've encountered in my life who go, a vote? It's not a vote. Exactly. It's not a vote. It's a loyalty oath. Uh-oh! But we aren't going to go into that. But yes, that explains why we give loyalty to the prophets and not vote for them. Because they messed up the whole meaning and understanding of this passage. Chosen by the body. Well, the body of what? It's an adjective usage here. It's the body of the Melchizedek priesthood. Well, or is it Melchizedek priesthood is the adjective for body? Melchizedek priesthood, body, yeah, body is the noun. But we don't know, we don't have the determinative, the adjective, to identify which body. And it's the Melchizedek priesthood. Because you go back, Melchizedek priesthood, of the Melchizedek priesthood, chosen by the body. It's not the first presidency chooses the first presidency. And it doesn't say the quorum of the 12, does it? But that's how it's been done since Brigham Young. I wonder why him. And so, of the Melchizedek priesthood, 3 presiding high priests, chosen by the Melchizedek priest, not high priest, Melchizedek priesthood. So, elders, 70, apostles that Joseph had, all officers, offices, I guess, but leadership is different than offices. It's administration offices, different from Melchizedek and Aaronic priesthood offices. And so apostles were in office, 70 were in office, and high priests. And so all of them are supposed to gather in one Melchizedek priesthood meeting. Starting to make sense now? Adamon Diamond. And select the new first presidency. Not just the president. He doesn't get to pick his counselors. That's why we'll get to it. They choose all 3 to lead the church by voting, not by giving keys. They vote. And then, yes, as selected by vote, the first presidency, the president of the church, now has all keys to run the church, because he was given permission by the vote of the Melchizedek priesthood. That's how it's supposed to have been done. It has never been done. You see, because the sustaining part is the rest of this. He's appointed and ordained to that office, so it's an administration office, and upheld by the confidence, faith, and prayer of the church. So the rest, the Aaronic priesthood, and children and women, then get to sustain. That's how it's done. And so, yeah, I guess it is a quorum even though it says form a quorum of the presidency of the church. So it's a mixture, I guess. Mixture of administrative function office as well as priesthood office. Wondering if that was the mailman. I don't know. So that's how it's supposed to have been done. This is what actually happened. Joseph Smith dies. Brigham Young automatically assumes authority and is rallying the troops. That's not what I want. Where are you? There you are. And just assumes the role as he had been, usurping Joseph's power over and over and over again. And he understood that there were those who were not wanting him to lead, such as Sidney Rigdon. And so they held a general conference for the church. And at that general conference in August of 1844, Sidney Rigdon, Brigham Young, and Lucy Mack Smith, the mother of Joseph Smith Jr., they all got to speak at this conference. And instead of having a Melchizedek priesthood vote, those two main guys and then Lucy gave her opportunity to say something. It was like those are the only two, but there weren't. There were others who said, nope, I'm supposed to be the one. No, I'm the one, and so on and so forth. We'll get to that. So at this conference, those three speak, and it ends. Brigham still continues to assume authority. Sidney Rigdon goes on his own way, forms his own church, just like he did in Kirtland before he joined. And when you understand the true history of Sidney Rigdon, you understand why I bit my upper lip. But and so then other Mormons, they either went with Sidney, went with Brigham Young, or they went after these other guys that stood up to say, no, it's me. And so that was it. Total chaos. And yet I was born and raised in the church and grew up thinking, oh, it's just Brigham Young naturally because he was the president of the Quorum of the 12, as we have currently. And so, there were other quorums. The Missionary Quorum of the 12, which Brigham Young was a part of, the High Council, which was more of an administrative, but not really an office in the priesthood, per se. The Missionary 12 was sort of an office, I guess you can say. Total chaos. So let's put up Gospel Tangents Christian Church, with the symbol of a dove with the colors of the gay rainbow. I don't know if that was their intention, but that's how it ended up as their logo symbol. They did a picture that's all over the internet, so I'm going to put it in here for you. It lists the number of the guys that I'll be talking about. I think I covered them all. Alrighty. So we'll see. So yeah, let's stop this segment, put in the Gospel Tangents group of people, and then carry on, carry on, carry on.